gets mixed up in here anyway. What's this?
So we are going to be having, y'all aren't going to be on camera, so no worries. But what we've decided to do is have a chat with Weezy. So while we're having dinner, we're going to be just naturally having a conversation, but we're also going to be asking Weezy questions.
What kind of questions?
Well, different kind of questions that you'd like to ask her, like what, tell me something about your childhood, or, you know,
Is that why I was
what's your favorite color? Yeah.
I was gonna ask you if I could look at it.
Yeah. She just filled that
He
out
was
today.
trying to ask me my favorites, all this stuff, and I don't have favorites. I just like a lot of things.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the way I am.
And I like to tell stories about whatever, you know. So,
But the cool thing about answering those is that it does bring up, you know, it
It
makes you
does.
think, and then
it makes you think, but
can
on the
answer
spur of the
stories.
moment, you know, I couldn't think.
So, you know.
As long as it's you, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm too boring to answer questions.
I love answering questions. It's so easy.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, it's something that I actually,
That's my favorite answer. Oh.
uh,
That's what I said, I'm boring.
this is something I wanted to do for Grampy and never got around to, and so I'm not gonna, I don't want to miss out on Weezy, so I want to make sure we do this and get it. So
You got at least 14 more years, so.
I know, but
That's what I'm
That's the
saying.
plan, right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
The plan.
okay. So I think
Okay.
this is Weezy's dressing here, and but I've also got this ranch and Italian here. And this actually pairs really well with fruit. It's delicious.
Which one are you?
We tried it the other
Okay.
night.
I'm the little chair.
I was actually
No, you see right.
thinking that some of the fruit could be shared from a.
Okay.
you already-
Suzanne can sit there now. Suzanne can sit there.
We did not have enough wine,
No, we don't have any dishes.
and we didn't think about the dishes.
No.
That's why. Getting the dishes ready. Okay.
All right.
Oh, matching dishes?
I don't have. I've got enough dishes, but they're not
I
matching.
like the blue and white combo.
We're gonna pray whenever we get
Okay.
at the table. Let's
All right,
go ahead
then.
and
Go ahead,
get going. And
let's start it.
for you, we need could you get her one of those bowls?
You want
Did
this
you want
kind?
some Parmesan?
Yes, I
This kind?
You want Parmesan? Sure.
Okay. Oh.
There you go.
Thank you.
Did you want anything else with it? You good? I'm not sure what else you would put with it, but figure it out.
Some fruit on top. Come on.
Fruit, yeah.
So chicken.
Alright.
Chicken Alfredo Parmesan.
You are.
Goose. Oh yeah, the bread. I knew there was something.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about bread. I don't think so. It looks like it. Pork chops. Is that apples, Mom?
Those are Yes, peppers. And this is squash, this is mushrooms, and this is,
Oh, we don't have any tomatoes.
no, we don't. I don't think I have any tomatoes.
Yeah,
You got a red thing, so it's only,
yeah.
you got all the colors going on, so you're represented.
But the couscous is a fun addition to a salad too. We figured out.
Oh, what do you, something for that.
Well, let's just.
Chicken for me,
Yeah, it's fruit.
It's all.
Nope,
Fruit with fruit.
thought I had some of them left there.
I think there was too. Hang in there, we'll be there quick.
Okay. I'm hanging.
Yours is hot.
Yeah,
hang out.
Yeah, I had some.
Do you see anything else?
No. I'm not crazy.
That's good. I'll go ahead and get another drink because I know before we get finished I'll need another one.
Okay, Mom, you come get your plate.
Seems like a salad bar.
Tomatoes, if you want them now.
What is this?
That is some, Italian dressing I made myself. Wynn's recipe,
Must be good.
and I like it a lot.
Tomatoes. Here.
Dishwasher
Yeah.
clean.
It's dirty.
Oh, it's dirty.
So what do you want?
I just was wanting a spoon for my pasta, but that's
Well, let me
okay.
get it. There's one there. And I've got some
Good.
soapy water up there.
It's clean. Got one for you, Mom.
Make one out of here for me.
Okay.
Thank you. I like to twirl my pasta on a spoon.
I do too.
Shouldn't play with your food.
I only twirl my pasta because of Lisa.
She showed you how to do it.
She and I went to Olive Garden for my birthday one time when I was like 11 or something. I don't remember. When I was like 11 or 12. We went to Olive Garden for my birthday. And
You were sucking it from one end to the other.
I was just like, you know, and she was like, I'm gonna show you something that Grampy taught me when we first started dating. And I used to twirl on the spoon, you know?
Yeah.
So now I always twirl it on the spoon.
Yeah.
It's easier.
There you go.
How would he know?
Mhm.
He said he wouldn't be on camera.
Not directly, I guess.
No.
Just the top of your beer bottles.
And the thing I've decorated for Valentine's is red mats. That's it.
Hey, that's just right of orange.
Valentine's Day is a fake holiday anyway.
Huh?
I said Valentine's Day is kind of a fake holiday anyway.
Yeah, it's a consumer holiday.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not a lover.
What?
So Valentine's is kind of a fake holiday anyway.
Oh. Oh. Man.
Don't worry about it.
What do you mean?
Don't worry about it. I don't think we need the bread.
You
Come
know
sit
what,
down.
Chris?
Come sit down and put some freight so we can eat.
No, I mean,
We got
that'll be late by the time it gets, so I just leave it, you know?
What is one?
Oh, well then.
Oh,
Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together tonight. Good food and good family, good conversation. In Jesus' name.
Jesus' name. Yes.
I thought for a second you were gonna drink that.
No.
Okay, Zane, put the bread in.
This has no preservatives in it, no, bad stuff.
Is it
And it's
olive
really
oil
good.
and stuff?
It's olive oil,
Bread doesn't have any preservatives or bad stuff.
preservative,
Just kidding.
garlic, fresh garlic, oregano, basil, salt, pepper,
Good.
white wine vinegar, and Great Poupon mustard.
Good.
I like it. I got some ideas from Gwen when I was there.
Everybody a bread fan? You guys are all bread?
Yes,
Okay.
about 6 or 7 minutes is all it takes.
Okay.
And you just put it in there as it is.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be on a tray. Boy, the allergy really got me. Has it gotten you? Not so much. Oh
Not
goodness.
so much.
I've had it so bad, and today it came back again. My voice is not very good.
Last 3 or 4 days, I've been sneezing more than I would ever normally sneeze for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Me too.
You know how I keep that gray blanket at the end of my bed? Bella always takes that as like her spot, and she'll go on the gray blanket. And the other night, I got kind of cold, and I didn't even think about it, and I pulled that blanket up, and I pulled it over my head,
Oh no.
and I woke up the next morning, my eyes were like
Oh,
on
no.
fire.
Really?
Yeah, and I was sneezing, and my eyes were like
Wow.
watering,
Absolutely.
because that's like her spot on my bed, is that,
Yeah.
that gray blanket at the end.
Mhm.
So, I just pulled like all her hair into my face.
Well, I'm not as allergic as you guys are to them, because I mean, they sleep with me at night, and Cat sleeps with me every night right on the bed, and Bella either is there or on the chair, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, like, as long as it's on the end of the bed, you know, when I sleep. But I pulled it, like, right over my face, and it was awful. The next day, I was just, like, suffering all day long. I forgot you were recording. That wasn't an interesting story.
Are you already recording?
Yeah.
Oops.
We've had some interesting times, things have been breaking up, breaking down. My car's right-hand door doesn't work anymore. So if anybody is with me, I have to get out and come around and open the door. It'll open, but not from the
From
inside.
the inside? Oh, boy.
This handle right here, be fixed. It's broken again. Car door,
Well,
we thought we had it fixed the other day. Dave Hayes came over and he just touched it and it worked. Well, that
Well,
was just a fluke.
I unplugged it for 10 seconds to hope to reset it, and seemed like it worked, but it hasn't.
Not really.
well,
And there's a chair out there I'd like to have fixed. If you ever get time,
a chair for, what kind of chair?
broke down. Mother's sewing chair with the back.
Okay. It's out in the garage?
It's in front of the refrigerator out there, or freezer.
Have you been using it, or
No, I
it's
haven't.
been upstairs?
It's been inside. It just finally broke. But they say after a house is 15 years old, things start breaking down.
Yeah, or sooner, I mean, it depends on what it is, but yeah, by that time, you're facing more stuff. Have you ever replaced your water heater since you've been here? Okay, that's good.
That
What's it
wasn't too
been?
long ago. That was
Okay.
probably 5 years ago.
Uh,
And now that I've got this carpet stretched and clean, it looks decent for now. But all my plants are thriving out there. We've had rain just right along, so it's good.
Rain and snow.
Yeah.
Is that pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
No, he was asking me questions about my favorite this and favorite that.
You bet.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. That looks like Gwen's plate.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I love about salads. You can make them pretty big.
I think I've told you before that at my service afterwards, if the COVID's still around, might not have a service, but anyway, if anybody comes, I'd like to have everybody have a banana
Banana split bar.
split bar.
I don't think you have said that.
I haven't.
No. Is that a new thought, or is that been on
No.
your mind for a long
No,
time?
Neil knew it.
A banana split.
I've got it zoomed on her.
Okay.
I'm not in the way when I move my arm. Okay.
No.
It's more expensive, but just banana split bar, just 3 kinds of ice cream and toppings.
Yeah.
My favorite thing,
That is a good idea.
favorite thing for dessert.
It's a celebration, right? What would COVID have to do with that?
Well, so many people are not even having services because of it. Because people are afraid to be around other people.
And
I'm just
especially,
glad that we were able to have ours.
Yeah, me too.
okay. We want to have.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
Yeah, and we'll just do something on
Mhm.
that.
Just throw it. There you go. Take it off.
I'll pass.
You okay?
I'm okay, thank you.
I guess I'll take one. I complained on.
Okay.
Everybody. Thank you.
It's good, garlic bread, really good.
Sure, no, it's
I'm sure, thank
got
you.
your name on it and parsley sprinkles.
I'm sure, thank you though.
Somebody's gonna be eating your name now.
That's okay.
Put your name on it. Okay.
I'm good.
Where did you go to get your haircut?
I went to some place in Granbury the first time I got a cut, and it was still too long, so then I went and got a cut at my mom's.
Where's the place in Grammar?
Do you remember?
Some place over by, I can't remember what it's called, but it's over by CC's and the Aldi's, you know?
Oh,
Down
I
that
don't know
way.
any of that area.
Yeah, it's down that way.
Mm-hmm.
I just Googled some random place.
What's it called?
I don't remember.
Clip it cozy with you.
I've been needing to go get a haircut for months, and I've been doing my own. Cut some more today.
Okay, so just to let you guys know about this video here, it's one of those deals where I'm only going to be using just very specific things, so it's not like you have to feel weird about the whole time.
I really didn't until you said that.
Good one.
No, really.
And
the heebie-jeebies.
Well, I'll start it off because I want to know if you've seen War Room, the movie.
No.
War Room.
I've heard of it.
It is excellent. It's just so good. And another one that I really like is Fireproof. Did you see that one? No? And Courageous
I've seen
is
that.
another one.
we saw that.
We
Just
just
seen
saw it
all
the
those,
last
nights ago.
whatever that guy is that writes them, acts in them.
Kendrick Brothers.
Kendrick Brothers, there are two of them.
What's the other one? I only know about the one guy that's sort of the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his brothers, so he's Alex and his brother's Steven, and they're known, their company is the Kendricks.
But the other one acts in it too. Is he the younger?
I don't
As I
know.
remember
I don't
in
know, he
Parade-
looks older because he's got gray hair. But I think maybe the other one, maybe colors his, I don't know.
But Alex is the one that's in all the movies,
Yeah.
but his brother is behind the scenes,
Mhm.
helping direct. And
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to get out the raisins and the
Mm-hmm.
cranberries,
Yeah.
Especially for your pasta.
Next time we'll have even more.
Well, you only had about, what, a dozen sides? You really missed those last two.
No. I knew I would forget something though, because I was trying to brainstorm as many possibilities as possible.
Possibilities is possible.
As possible, possibilities as possible. That's it. So, why do you bring up War Room? I'm sure you wanna say something about it.
Well, it's very, very good movie. And it's inspiring. And it's well acted every time they do a movie. And they don't do it consistently. It's a church where at first everybody that acted was somebody that was in the church. And they weren't super actors, you know.
Yeah.
But they wanted to do more than just having their own church. They wanted to impact people outside, you know. They made these 4 or 5 movies now. The first one, Flywheel, was the very first one. It was not the best. And then as they got better, Sony jumped in and supported them.
So this is the same.
Same
Okay.
people, same
All right.
people. So War Room is their,
Latest.
not the latest one, it's,
Oh.
the latest one is Overcomer.
I've heard of that one.
They're all just so good. Great stories. Always a theme. Fireproof is about marriage that was in trouble. And Courageous about men becoming men.
Right. That's the one I remember the most because it's pretty impactful.
It is very impactful. And this one, War Room, is about prayer and how powerful it is. And let's see. Facing the Giants was about facing problems in life.
We're using a football team
Mm-hmm.
in that movie. That was their second movie, but it's actually been a little while since I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Me too.
Flywheel was their first one, but it was a good message, but you can tell they were just starting off.
I think I've only seen the two, Courageous and Fireproof. I think
Courageous, and which one?
Fireproof.
Fireproof. Mm-hmm.
Well, something that I'd love for you to share is, speaking of your faith in Jesus, you told me recently the story about you going up to the front at a really young age. You should share that.
When I was 9 years old, of course I didn't go to church ever since before I was born.
Sure.
And we were living
9 marks worth. Right?
at that time. We were living.
Regular churchgoer.
All of you been to P-Town so far? P-Town Church. You guys been there?
It's where the
I'm not sure you have.
I don't know if I have or not. I don't think so.
That's where we'll be burying
Cemetery.
that's
Grampy's ashes
where-
whenever we can.
Beautiful pine trees.
Hopefully in
everywhere.
the spring. I'd love for it to be in the spring. We've got dogwood and azaleas and all those beautiful. It's a beautiful place.
Mhm.
And the church there is a brick church, but when it was an old-fashioned, just a white board church, was when we were going, when we lived in the old home place called Great Oaks. And my dad was the one that actually named it. Later on, they didn't have a name for his house, the house, Not everybody does, but a big place like that with with acreage and
You gotta have a
cattle and all
name.
of that, you gotta
Yeah.
have a name. And so he called it Great Oaks because the yard was about an acre for the yard. And it just was covered with these big trees.
Yeah.
And he had fixed, I don't know how he did it, but he actually fixed me a swing. And it was extremely tall. And he got this, you know, the ropes
Yeah.
and the board. And it was, I mean, it was up there. I don't know how they did that.
Wow.
But I love that, the most of all, that part, swinging, and I would swing way high. You know, when you've got it high, that way, it takes you extremely high. And I love doing that. I've always liked fast things, you know, fast.
Yeah.
Roller coasters
And
and
risky stuff too.
Roller
Plane,
coasters.
plane flights.
Oh, yes. Yes, I've always loved the fast things. In fact, I was driving a little bit too fast when in my 30s and
Well, I thought you were gonna say yesterday.
30s and 40s, and I
I don't think the
kept
car will
getting,
go that fast anymore.
kept getting tickets, and my insurance went up. That did it for me. When I was having to pay for it,
Change your.
I changed my ways. Oh, but the other thing I liked when we were living there, and we only lived 3 years there because my dad was, I guess, 4 years, close to 4 years, but he was in the service overseas, and he didn't come home for all those 3 years. And we had a party line. That is a phone that everybody else can listen in when they're on a party line.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's like
Have you ever
neighbor.
heard of that?
No.
It's like
Yeah.
one line that basically
line and-
everybody uses, but they can only, you know,
That's the way it
if
works.
somebody else is using it, you really can't use it.
And Daddy called one time, I'm sure he called more than once, but not many times. It just didn't happen, and he called and everybody wanted, they pick up the phone because it rings everywhere, but you have your own ring. You know, yours is 3 longs and 1 short or something like that, and you pick up and it's yours. But it rings
Like crazy.
everywhere, and they know who it is because they know,
That's why everybody knows
different
each other's
ones.
business.
yeah. And so he called.
We think it's bad now with
Yeah.
social media.
And they all got on. I don't know how many people are on it, but 10 or 12 maybe. And they were listening in, and it weakens the line. And she couldn't hear him, he couldn't hear her. And she was begging them to get off so she could talk to him.
Begging other people to get off.
Get off. But she told me, she said, they didn't all get off. And that's when I started playing with buttons. Mother was a seamstress. She made all of her clothes and mine. And she had a button box that had all these pretty buttons. Some of them were really glittery buttons. And I would make the glittery ones the king and queen. And I would get some pretty cloth and I'd have a runway, you know, for them. And then I'd have all the other buttons, certain buttons, like the brown ones were the soldiers and just different things. I could play with those buttons for hours. And I also played jacks, and I got really good at picking up jacks. You know what jacks are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And pickup sticks. You know what pickup sticks are? The sticks are about this long, and you just throw them up, and they just go in a pile. And then you try to pick them without moving anything. If you can pick them all up, then you're the winner. If you're playing with somebody and one moves, then you have to let them go. But if you however many that you end up with is the winner.
If you were born today, you would be able to work an iPhone before you could even talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a difference from pickup sticks.
Yeah.
So, you, were about how old when you were
We were there from
at
from
the church?
the age of about 8.5 until 12.
Okay. And so what happened on that day you went forward?
I made up my mind. That's what I wanted to do, and I just went down there. Mother and Daddy didn't know anything about it. Nowadays, the preacher says we're going to have a training class, and people go, and
Some churches, yeah.
they're usually 10 to 12 years old. And but I just wanted to give my life to Jesus, so I went down there and shocked everybody.
Cool.
And afterwards, they asked me, Mother and Daddy asked me, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I'm sure."
Are you trying to talk me out of it?
All right.
And then
Okay.
I was baptized. We didn't have a way to baptize. So we went into the First Christian Church in Longview, the bigger church. And they had a baptistry.
Baptistry, yeah.
Baptistry. When Daddy was growing up, and his brothers and sisters, they were baptized in the old Blue Hole, which was just a, little odd place in the river. And it was right down from the church, but now it's all gone. It dried up. That's where Daddy learned to swim too. His brothers just threw him in there, said sink or swim. And that's the way he thought that he trained, to do that. I became a swimming teacher later on at Tarleton. Took the WSI, which is Water Safety Instructors training, and so I taught swimming and was a lifeguard down at the Stephenville pool. And he was trying to teach John when he was about 7 how to swim, and he tell him, "Now jump in and I'll catch you." And he finally jumped in, and he stepped back, and he went in the water, and it scared him, and he wouldn't do it anymore. He would not go. And so I took him over. It took me 2 months to get him over the fear of water. Then I taught him to swim. It's the fear of water that keeps people from learning. Because if you take a baby when it's not too long after it's born, it's been in water and it knows that feeling, and they will become a good swimmer. If you put them in the water pretty soon after they are born, and let them keep that feeling. So, yeah.
You think Papa understood that he probably messed up there?
I don't know.
Maybe that's one of those things you don't just say, "Okay, I'm gonna step back right about now."
Yeah. I love that swimming. I always thought that I would swim all the rest of my life. And it's really good exercise. It's just one of those things that fell by the wayside.
Well, this summer, they had those water aerobics at the club pool, and you should do that. And it looked like they were having a great time.
They do, and I keep saying I'm gonna go. I just should.
I think
It's
they'll
one thing you
really
never
love
get
it.
too old for.
Yeah.
Swimming.
It's easier on your
And
body.
it's free. It's free, everything up here is free.
Okay, so Kate, what do you have a question to ask Weezy?
Oh, shoot.
Anything?
I didn't know I was going.
Yep. What's your spirit animal? Anything?
My first jobs,
I can take your place while you think about it.
Yeah, okay, let me think about it for a second.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear about the first time you ever saw TV.
Good question.
good question.
Yeah.
My dad said when television came out, he said, I will never have that black box in my house.
It's the devil.
Evil.
And you know what? He was right.
Well,
Not until
he was,
later, I guess.
he went to Tarleton and then he went to A&M. So he was a big Aggie fan. He in fact wore the Aggie ring on his wedding ring finger. He never had a wedding ring.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and I
didn't know there was
thought
a
after I
wedding
got older and I was married, I thought, he never had a wedding ring.
There's gotta be a whole nother story behind that
And
whole
mother-
thing.
I know was disappointed that Aggieland came before she did. Anyway,
That's a little too hardcore.
I got off the subject. So he always watched the big game on Thanksgiving between Aggieland and University of Texas. That was the big game,
The rivalry.
a rivalry, and we always
That-
went. We went there. We went down there for it, and it was a great time because the fans really got involved, and the young women that were dating, or they were with their boyfriends, every time they made a score, they got a kiss. So it was a lot of fun. And so it was fun to watch and fun to be there, and it was just like, like a concert, that you go to. It was just fun.
Mm.
So for some reason, Daddy was not able to go that year. And he went out and bought a television so that he could see that game.
That is hardcore when you have to
There it is.
say, I'll never have that, and then you do.
And that was the first time.
About when was that? How old were you?
Was it showing black and white?
Oh, it's probably,
It was after World War II?
probably 16, 17.
Yeah.
And do you
And the first
remember-
ones were all black and white, and they would roll, they weren't stable, and they would shake, and
Oh, that
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
we
I guess-
wanted to go see. This was before Daddy bought one, and the people in the church, they're the first to have a television. It was a little one. I know it wasn't any bigger than this.
Mm.
And so they invited some of us to come and watch it. It was black and white, and we watched Ed Sullivan show, or variety show. Everybody loved it so much, and it was just like it rolled, and it had lines,
Yeah.
and,
And you're all like glued
and
to
we
it,
were just like
and
this.
the radiation was probably terrible. So
No, it was sad, but that was the first of it,
yeah, you're excited.
And then when color came, boy, everybody had to go get another one because you had to have color.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
HT.
Just like now,
LED.
you have to have the newest phone. Oh, and we've had a saga in the
Yeah.
last,
Oh man,
this
yesterday
week.
was rough. My phone wasn't working. It's working now, which is weird, but it was having some major issues yesterday. And then I couldn't get into my emails, and because my phone wasn't working, you know how they do the verification of the email stuff, and so I couldn't get into my emails. I couldn't reply to Kroger and do the online stuff to get ready for Tuesday, because I'm starting Tuesday, then, I also couldn't get,
Oh, you're
My-
starting at Kroger too?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, good.
I didn't know if I
No,
shared
I
it with
didn't know
everybody, yeah. I'll be in dairy, so I'm gonna be nice
Dairy,
and cold.
you gonna be milking cows in the back?
Oh gosh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Fresh
Delivering
milk,
cows.
fresh milk.
I've actually delivered cows, I know what I'm doing. I did it in the Boys Ranch, we watched Shirley Temple the other night milking cows, that was hilarious. Uh, Heidi?
Mhm.
What was I saying?
So
I'm
you're
talking
in
about your
dairy?
phone.
Dairy phone, yeah, so my phone, anyway, it came back on, so I furiously, got everything right and got into my emails but I was with Apple Care twice
Yes.
for a total of 5 hours trying to figure out stuff. Cause I wanted to back up my phone, I wanted to put all my data on a external hard drive. I just was learning all this stuff that I've been wanting to do, but I hadn't done yet. And so, so that's enough about that.
But we were talking about, I brought it up this morning. Sometimes we get so dependent on things that we really don't have to have.
No, you're right. You're
And we
absolutely
want,
right.
and once we have something, the best of it, we don't wanna back up and get the least, go back to something that,
But
but it's good for us.
that black and white Shirley Temple movie Heidi, was fantastic. I was great acting, great story. It was refreshing.
And my favorite
It
movie
was from the
when I was
1930s,
little.
black and white.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, part of that was, the acting was was good for the time for sure.
Mhm.
But I mean, Shirley Temple, she grabs you and
Oh,
pulls you in.
Right, totally.
Such a
You'll have
great
to
actress.
watch that sometime, cause
She was a precocious young girl.
she was
She
like,
was- She was born 4 or 5 years before me
right,
and named Shirley. And Shirley used to be a man's name back in the
yeah,
1800s.
yeah, that's it.
And
Did you know
Yeah.
that?
no,
Used to
it
be a
was.
man's name,
Mhm.
I didn't either until I
Exclusively.
met a man named Shirley in Stephenville whenever I was younger. I was like,
Wait a
he's
minute.
got a girl's name. And then she was like, no, actually, I'm the one who's got the boy name.
Well, Shirley Temple did not have a brother. She was the only child. And I guess they picked the name Shirley thinking it would be a boy. I don't know what happened. But anyway, she was named Shirley. And she became an actress by the time she was 4 because her mother recognized how precocious she was. And she gave her acting lessons, singing lessons, dancing lessons, the works. And she was just so natural, and she was so pretty, and had those big dimples. And she made so many movies, and she continued. Some child actresses can't make it when they get older, but she continued to be an actress. And then after she quit being an actress, she was into politics.
She was an ambassador.
And she was an ambassador. I forgot exactly where it was. It was not one of the
Where was
major
it?
places, but she was an
Yeah,
ambassador.
I can't remember the country that she was an ambassador for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In the United Nations.
You were born in 34.
34.
She was already acting, so
She was
were you
already
named
acting.
after Shirley Temple?
Well, that's what I asked Daddy. I said, did you name me after her? And he said, well, no. His sister, just older than he was, and she was number 12 and he was 13. And so they were very close to each other because the others were all growing up. Some of them were even gone from home because there were so many children. And Christine and my dad were just real close, and when she had her child, she wanted him to name her, and he named her Shirley. And that was like 5 or 6 years before I was born. And then when I was born, he named me Shirley. So we
He got
we
stuck
saw a
on
lot of
Shirley.
them because they lived in Longview and we lived in P-Town. It was just like close.
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of them. So both named Shirley, and so she became Big Shirley and I was Little Shirley, and that was not
Well, that's
good
good for
for
you.
us. Not good. She was big boned. She was tall and big, and she hated it. And I don't like being a little Shirley either.
No.
So it was just one of those things that you just wish they thought that through.
Yeah, well, at least not do the big and little thing. Yeah.
My other name, Louise, is from my favorite aunt on my daddy's side. Aunt Elva Louise.
Yeah.
So, actually, Shirley, I'm not called Shirley by any family member. It's all Weezy now.
Yeah.
So that's my second name, sort of. And today I was talking to Hope, his friend, and she decided to call me Weezy.
Her middle name
Her name is Louise.
is Louise.
Oh.
So she's really excited to connect with
Yeah.
Mom and have the same middle name. So, yeah, it was good talks. Tell us about Weezy. How did that come about? Since we're talking about names.
Well, in high school, I went with this boy for most of my high school time, and he called me Louise most of the time.
Did you like that?
It was okay.
He's a boyfriend.
Yeah, I liked
You
it.
liked him, so
I
yeah,
liked him.
of course.
And then when I married Neil, he started calling me Weezy. And then I saw that sitcom.
Yeah, we're moving on up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
moving on up,
Jefferson.
the Jeffersons. Of course, she's a black lady, pretty good size black lady, and her name was Weezy. And so I said, well, that's where you got that name. And then when grandchildren were starting to come, or were going to be born, I was trying to think, what do I want them to call me? I don't want the plain old grandmother or granny, or
Yeah.
I wanted
You wanted
something
something
unusual.
different, yeah.
I wanted something different, because I liked Mim's name.
Yeah.
You know, your grandmother.
Yeah.
Her name was Margaret Ellen
Mm-hmm.
and Moody.
So Mim.
M-E-M.
Oh,
Mim.
that's where that came
That's
Yeah.
where it came from.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
her
thought it
initials.
was, I thought it was good.
I like it.
So I wanted something catchy, but I couldn't decide. And Margaret finally said, because Margaret and you and Margaret were having your babies very close together.
Yeah.
And they were five days
days apart.
apart.
Yeah.
Supposed to come 5 days apart, and they were both late 2 weeks, and they were still 5 days apart.
Mm-hmm.
And Margaret said, when getting close, she said, well, if you haven't decided, we're just gonna call you Weezy, because that's what Neil was calling it. And so it happened.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, Dylan would not call me Weezy. And I think I figured it out. He didn't like that name because he has asthma, and he wheezes, and he didn't, and they talk about,
That's true.
how much wheezing, and he just didn't like it, and I don't blame him. The only one that called me grandmother was Cindy. She still calls me grandmother.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm missing out. Weezy is such a fun name.
Well, I hardly ever saw her, and I was her grandmother, so.
All right, so Kate, what do you think? Does that satisfy you? Is that a good?
Yes.
Do you
Are
have more
you
questions about
satisfied?
TV though, like what first program or anything?
No, well, she said the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
Was that so? Okay.
So, I'm satisfied.
And the Burnett, what's her name?
Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett show.
Love
We
that show.
we really liked the variety shows.
Still,
Because you
when I
got to
watch
s-
outtakes of that, I still
Mhm.
makes me wish I could go back and
Yeah.
be in that
She
time.
was so good,
Saturday night.
yeah. Everybody stayed home to watch those
Well, I mean, there
variety
were
shows.
shows
It was
at
like
that
going to a
time.
concert.
Well, yeah, it was at that time. There were more well, there were fewer shows, so there were more special.
And the thing is, too, a lot of people got their start. It became very popular.
Yeah.
From the
From
Ed
those-
Sullivan
Oh, yeah,
Show, or
because they
the
got
Carol
variety
Burnett
show,
Show,
noticed
yeah.
and-
Yeah.
The Eagles were there first, and even, um, the group from England,
Oh, the Beatles.
the Beatles, the Beatles.
The Beatles.
And
The Beatles.
Elvis,
You know the Beatles.
he was there.
I do.
on,
I can't believe you couldn't think of the name.
It's one of those things
Been a
where you have
little
that brain block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's so
just-
supposed to be there that it's not.
I think one of the funniest shows ever was the Carol Burnett Show with those people
It
on her
was.
show.
I mean, it
Mrs.
was
Wiggins.
absolutely.
But they were
Tim
just
Conway.
hilarious.
It
You would
was
just
just-
you double over. It was all good fun. It wasn't smutty fun. It was so funny.
Yeah.
And that Tim Conway one where he was a dentist. You remember that
Oh,
one?
good.
I remember them all. Yeah. I mean,
That was just the funniest sketch.
well, him and
they-
Harvey Korman
and they-
together were just always.
What was his
just
name?
Harvey Korman. And he would get tickled and try not to laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you never knew what Tim Conway was going to do.
Yeah.
But Harvey Korman was the one, the patient, and he was going to stick him, you know, and he would nervously
Oh,
stick,
yes.
he would stick himself.
Yes, he got himself.
And then once he
and
got.
then he could, and then it was deadening his leg. And then his arm, and his arm was, and then he tried to do it with this one, you know.
Yeah.
He was awful. He was hilarious.
I'm
And
sure.
Harvey Korman just breaking up.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the straight man, but he like
Oh, so good.
no.
That's good.
Well, if I think about TV and growing up, I remember probably. I mean, we didn't have a TV for a while there and all that, but I just remember that big old box TV.
Yeah.
In Mom and Papa's house. That's where I really started to.
Console.
Yeah, it
console
was like
TV.
it was just a big, huge box,
Mhm.
like this, and. it
And
was-
on the floor,
Yeah, on the floor.
close to the floor.
Yeah.
And the side pieces was phonograph, record player, and then the other side was storage.
In the top, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. State of the art.
For
I
those-
always remember Murder, She Wrote was one of those shows that they loved watching. It seemed like whenever I came over,
yeah,
they'd have
she wrote.
that's the show that they were ready to
Yeah, that's true.
watch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But when I was little, I was watching. I remember the shows I was watching was like Carol Burnett, but Star Trek. That's when Star Trek started.
Yeah.
The original series, and I was really into that at the time.
First interracial kiss on Star Trek.
Mhm.
It was they broke lots of
Mhm.
molds and barriers, and
Mhm.
it was really cool.
Then we got to where we did Wheel of Fortune. When we were traveling down South Texas and also in Ruidoso with a RV those 7 years. Especially we got started down in South Texas where we got into a group about our age and everybody liked it. So we'd go eat with each other. We'd go about 4 o'clock, we would eat, and then we would come back, and we would, get there about, get home and get ready to go watch, Wheel of Fortune.
Mhm.
We were back at our RVs, and then we would finish that, and we would go play cards for a couple of hours. So that was a routine. Every night,
Mhm. Yeah.
We'd go somewhere. Either somebody would have all of us come over to their RV, or we'd go out to eat early. And then we would come home for Wheel of Fortune. And then we would do the cards, play cards, and it was just so much fun.